Hi, hello, namaste to all my listeners. I'm your host Sarthak Varshney, and I welcome you all to the Balls of Steel show, where you get an insight into the business mindset of the entrepreneurs. Dhandho ni Soch. Our today's guest is Mr. Ankur Joshi. Hi, Ankur.
Hey Sarthak, nice to be here.
How are you? Thank you
Good,
so
yeah.
much, Ankur, for coming. Coming in. Thanks a lot. So, how's the unlock coming around for you?
It's going on. Like obviously, yeah, Bangalore slightly less affected than Bombay and Delhi, but like in
Mm-hmm.
the last couple of weeks, it has also impacted. Like I think daily 800, 900 cases are coming, and people
Okay.
are getting more scared now. And there are talks about lockdown 2.0 or lockdown 5.0, whichever lockdown it is. Uh, but like from a personal perspective, I think ज़्यादा कुछ difference है नहीं. We've been
Right.
working from home since mid-March, and
Okay.
as a company, we have adjusted very nicely to working from home. Like
Right.
definitely a few teething issues were there, but they are now sorted, and we'll
Right.
definitely continue to work from home for the next few months for sure.
Okay.
But yeah, like
That's pretty
otherwise
good.
ठीक ही है. Like company is going on, and धंधे में तो यार सबकी लगी है. Like we are no different. Everyone is trying to
Okay.
figure out how to survive. We are also trying to figure that out.
Right. Completely understandable. Okay, so Ankur, what is the business that you're doing because of which we're gonna say that you've got the balls of steel?
I don't know about the second part, but I'll explain what the business we are building.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah,
Right.
essentially, so this is essentially a fourth business which I would be building or helping to build, and
Okay.
the previous three were where we had raised some money and we had built decent scale, etc., etc. Some were profitable, some did not succeed. There were a lot of
Mm-hmm.
learnings from those businesses, which
Mm-hmm.
essentially started the journey for Nuclei. The
Mm-hmm.
learnings, mistakes, failures, which I personally made, which we as co-founders made in previous companies, and we wanted to learn from those mistakes. And we always talk about कि यार गलतियों से सीखो, but कभी सीखने को
Mm-hmm.
मिलता नहीं है. Or rather, like
Right.
actually मिलता है, but a lot of times you don't get enough time to sit down and think and then implement those learnings. So
Right.
when the previous company got acquired, we had enough time. We sat down and thought about क्या अब next करना क्या है. Obviously, we didn't want to join like the company which acquired us. We wanted to
Mm-hmm.
start again, and we started thinking
Mm-hmm.
that this time we will do something which will not be just concentrated on India. Let's build something bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Let's build a global product. So
Right.
our vision or mission kind of became that we want to build a product company, but out of India. Like we always talk about that product companies, Western product companies काफी अच्छी होती हैं, the quality of those products
Mm-hmm.
are very good, etc. India में हमेशा you talk about जुगाड़ and you're not
Right.
considered from a quality perspective. So we wanted to take that notion away and wanted to build a
Mm-hmm.
company with product company from India. So वहाँ से
Right.
thought process चालू हुआ.
Okay.
Eventually we thought that we want to build a sustainable business. So we did not want
Right.
to raise any money upfront. We wanted our
Mm-hmm.
customers to fuel our growth as well as our sustenance. So
Right.
that was where the second thing was, and therefore we went after various industries. Banking हो गया,
Mm-hmm.
insurance हो गया, telcos हो गया, assuming that if we go to go and meet a lot of people, ask them what their
Mm-hmm.
problems are and how can we solve using technology. So we met a
Right.
few telco people, executives this is I'm talking about first half of 2018.
Okay.
Met a few telco executives, tried to understand what their problems were, but then soon realized that at that point of time, telcos were also going through a rough patch, and they wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
have money to pay us upfront. So we dropped
Mm-hmm.
telco as an industry in 2018. Now again, it is back in play. We approached a
Okay.
lot of insurance companies as well, tried to figure out क्या कर सकते हैं, but then realized that insurance also, when compared to banking, was a couple of years behind from a digital transformation perspective. So then we just
Right.
focused on banking. Banks had money, they could pay us upfront, and there were a lot of issues which we could solve using technology. So we
Hmm.
started meeting a lot of banks. We, I think, met around 100 odd banks,
Hmm.
around 250, 300 people across India, Middle East, Southeast Asia in a span of I think 5 or 6 months, and literally
Okay.
built the idea of the product from one meeting to the next. And eventually, the product which
Okay.
came out was a platform which will enable the
Hmm.
bank to integrate with any third-party API. And we
Okay.
will at the same time also create the front-end customer experience and package it and deliver it to the bank in their mobile app or
Hmm.
on their internet banking portal, so that the bank need
Right.
not do much put in much effort from their side. They will get a finished product,
Hmm.
and
Right.
their customers can start using these third-party products or services from the bank's portal.
Hmm.
So that's
Okay.
what we have built at Nuclei. We are working with
Okay.
17 odd banks right now, and yeah, we are
Okay.
trying to grow global. Obviously, given the travel restrictions, it is slightly difficult, but we are trying to figure out a way. I hope I explained it in some manner.
Yes, you did. I would say you tried well and that you did, but when we're talking about hair and balls of steel, so we go in much more in details. So what I would say now is that Ankur, why don't you start from the very beginning of your journey and tell us everything in detail till the current point at which you're standing right now.
Yeah, okay. So briefly, yeah. So I was born and brought up in Indore in a fairly
Okay.
lower middle class family. Like
Mm-hmm.
my uncles and my dad used to work on our agricultural land near Ujjain, and that's
Mm-hmm.
where they come from. And they struggled. They definitely struggled a lot in their lives,
Mm-hmm.
but ended up in my like giving a decent education to my generation, like me, my brothers and sisters. I'm a single
Okay.
child, but we live in a joint family. We're seven brothers and sisters.
Okay.
But like they made sure that even though we were in a lower middle class family, our education was taken care of, and that was the
Mm-hmm.
biggest thing which our parents and my dad's generation, my mom's generation, they did for us. So I was there in Indore till my 12th. Then I graduated from there. I went to IIT Bombay. Was there for 4 years. That's
Mm-hmm.
when the first benchmark shift happened. That's when I kind of broke my first glass ceiling, because
Right.
living in Indore, you're not exposed to a lot in the world. You are,
Right.
only there is only so much horizon that is in front of you. Going to
Right.
Bombay, you get exposed to people who could actually speak fluent English. My
Mm-hmm.
English was extremely poor, even though I studied. My parents spent so much money and effort and made me study in an English medium school. My English was very
Right.
poor. So that's when I realized when I went to Bombay that if I have to compete with my peers who are coming from say Bombay or Delhi or were speaking about Ivy League colleges, I did not even know what
Mm-hmm.
an IIM was. Forget about Harvard or
Okay.
Stanford. So
Right.
like if I have to compete with them, I have to have some differentiation. So like for me that differentiation was working harder, and that
Mm-hmm.
kind of became a habit that if I have to grow in life, if I have to compete or remain relevant, I have to work hard. I have to work maybe harder than everyone else, because
Mm-hmm.
I did not have the privilege of say growing up in a Bombay or a Delhi or a family which was very well educated. So
Right.
like I did not have a habit of reading books till probably I was 24. Till then, like I did not like obviously I studied whatever curriculum was there, but did
Mm-hmm.
not go after was not a was a very big avid reader. So
Mm-hmm.
those kind of habits, obviously, if you read from a young age, they compound over a couple of decades and help you. But they were not
Right.
there. So those kind
Right.
of privileges were not there. So I had to work harder, etc. That kind of inculcated became a habit. Then after I
Mm-hmm.
joined, like got lucky, got a job in Deutsche Bank just after IIT. I was a six pointer in IIT. Obviously, did not study
Okay.
much, played football and played computer games, CS, etc. Did not study much. For some reason, Deutsche liked me. I think they had some entrance exam which I did well in. At the same time, I
Mm-hmm.
also gave CAT, scored very well in CAT, but then decided to join Deutsche Bank instead of going and doing an IM degree, because
Mm-hmm.
I think the cost of that degree was very high, and Deutsche Bank was offering insane amount of money for I don't know what work. So the family decided that इतना पैसा छोड़ नहीं सकते, इतने पैसे दे रहा है कोई तुम्हें, भाई इसको छोड़ो मत, ले लो. Like
Right.
I I actually remember the day I got the job and I was not expecting
Uh-huh.
कि यार ये होगा. So just to give you context,
Right.
मेरी कॉलोनी में 2 साल पहले 2005 में there was one neighbor who got selected in TCS or something.
Uh-huh.
कैंपस में डे वन इंदौर का अच्छा कॉलेज था एंड
Right.
उनका पैकेज कुछ तो 3-4 लाख का कुछ तो होता था एंड दैट वाज द
Hmm.
टॉप मोस्ट पैकेज विच एनीवन इन इंदौर और एनीवन लाइक इन आवर दूर का खानदान had ever heard of.
Hmm.
लिटरली फाइव
Right.
स्टार होटल में पार्टी दी थी उन्होंने कि भाई अब इसकी लाइफ सेट है. एंड 2 years
Right.
later I was getting offered I think 12 lakhs in Deutsche Bank. भाई किसी ने सुना ही नहीं था
Okay.
12 लाख. मुझे भी नहीं पता था कि भाई लाइक माय एक्सपेक्टेशन वाज दैट मैं निकलूंगा तो यार 2-3 लाख की जॉब लग जाए तो यार लाइक आई वुड बी सेट फॉर लाइफ. एंड डॉइचे बैंक
Right.
में आके 12 लाख की जॉब दे दी. माय डैड वाज सरप्राइज, ही वाज लाइक भाई कुछ इलीगल काम तो नहीं करवा रहे तुमसे, और मतलब अगर करवा भी रहे हैं तो मतलब भाई ये लिखवा के ले लो, डोंट गेट ड्यूप्ड एक्सेट्रा. तो वेरी
Right.
टिपिकल मिडिल क्लास फैमिली थिंकिंग. ऑब्वियसली मतलब
Right.
कोई आइडिया नहीं था बट देन आई जॉइन डॉइचे बैंक. इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकिंग था. यू कैन इमेजिन हाउ इट वाज इन 2008 2009.
Right.
I was there for 3.5 years, but I realized maybe a couple of years later, in the job, that this was not for me. I wanted to do something
Hmm.
and build something on my own. At that point of time, I think I was just searching for more job satisfaction. But
Right.
I think it was just like in hindsight, if I think of it, I just wanted more
Hmm.
responsibility and more decision making in my hands, which was not there at Deutsche Bank. There were a lot of approvals, a lot of things which were required. Obviously, being a big organization, they need to have such processes in place. Now I realize,
Right.
but at that point of time, that was frustrating me. So just wanted to
Right.
do something on my own where I could take decisions and I could control outcomes. So
Right.
that was the thought process behind leaving Deutsche Bank. Uh, I don't know, for some reason, आई थिंक कॉलेज में बैठ के दारू पी रहे थे, सोचा कि यार रेस्टोरेंट
Hmm.
करते हैं, रेस्टोरेंट में बहुत पैसा है,
Hmm.
बहुत मार्जिन है, तो हमने रेस्टोरेंट जाके खोल लिया पूना में.
Okay.
हाँ.
Okay.
So we did well. Like ऐसा नहीं था कि we did not do well. We opened up I think 9 odd restaurants in Pune,
Wow.
and
Okay.
it was a good lifestyle business over a period of 4 years. It was a good
Hmm.
lifestyle business, but it was that.
Hmm.
It was a lifestyle business. It was not growing, and it will always grow linearly, store by store by store. So
Right.
that became a challenge after investing 4 years of life. We were essentially, like in my dad's words, running a lala ki dukan. So, so he was like, yeah, like you can do better. And obviously, I also realized that if we have to do something, we can do better. We can make more. And to be honest, like, because we had automated a lot of stuff, in
Hmm.
fourth year there was not much work for me to do. So
Okay.
running the restaurants, like it was not very hectic. Literally maybe
Right.
2-3 hours a day, and that's it. Like everything else
Hmm.
was on auto mode. So we sold that
Right.
business. I decided that what, now I'll go into technology. I will build some softwares. Uh, did a startup for a year in Pune in pharmaceutical
Hmm.
space. Shut that down within 8-9 months. There was no product market fit, and
Right.
then moved to Bangalore and joined Tabzo. So that's where we
Okay.
built India's first all-in-one app, etc., which got acquired by e-commerce company in 2018. And
Okay.
then after I started Nuclei. So since last nearly nearly 20-22 months, we've been running Nuclei, and that's where we are.
Right.
Make sense?
Okay. Yeah, it does. It does make sense. It definitely makes sense. So there's quite a lot that we can actually pull out of your journey. And the way I am seeing is that you have actually jumped through quite a few jobs, uh, and then you've started up businesses, and then then finally you're here. So let's start from the very beginning first of all. So you told us that your father and your uncle would work on the family land, and you would see them working hard, and they made sure that you all brothers and sisters have a decent education. So if I talk about the very initial stage of your life, that stage, and if I ask you to relate that now, so what was it when you look back at that point? What is it that you have got from that mindset looking at them? Was it the hard work, or what did you acquire from there? How did those things shape your mindset being an entrepreneur? I would ask that.
So definitely hard work. Like my parents, and not just my parents, like every elder in my family. As I said, it's a joint family. So like
Mm-hmm.
whether it is my kaka, uncle, or my kaku or ai baba, like all of them were like sure about one thing, that if you have to achieve anything in life, you have to work hard. Nothing is going to come easy. That was, I
Mm-hmm.
think, taught to all of us from the very beginning. And like even at home, if we had to, I don't even remember, like we were not allowed to eat chocolates, but we were allowed to eat ice creams once in a while, but we had to earn those ice creams. So like we had to
Okay.
do some work to get that ice cream. It was never offered to us. They, of course, I said, like we did not have the luxury to have like chocolate stored at home at that point of time.
Okay.
I'm talking about 90s, early 90s.
Right.
But like yeah, I'm not saying that it was a very, like, we did not have issues about eating food, but
Mm-hmm.
luxuries of going and having an ice cream every day, of course it was not there. Like maybe once
Mm-hmm.
or twice a month, it was something which is, but we were again made to work for it. It was never given to us for free, if I may. So that was one thing which was like driven into us. Second thing, my
Right.
mom did study, did graduate, but my dad
Mm-hmm.
could not graduate because like my grandfather passed away in 76. Yeah, 76. And that's when both my uncles and my dad had to leave whatever they were doing and tend to
Right.
our family land. uh, and they could
Okay.
not complete their education. So my dad was very sure about one thing, that like, to my son, I'll make sure that he gets the best education possible. And to be honest,
Right.
that has been the best thing which he could have given to me. Like nothing else, but
Mm-hmm.
like the ability to be curious or ask questions, and having a good education on my head. That was something which
Mm-hmm.
he definitely worked hard and sacrificed a lot to make sure that I
Right.
get that. So yeah, those two things still remain with me. Yeah,
That's nice. So basically, we can say that right now the path you're following, that you have to earn everything, be it even a client, a tender, or bid, or anything of that sort. But that was very much engraved in you from the very beginning of your life, be it that for that little toffee or an ice cream. So we can,
yeah,
and that I would say has started making a difference in you over the period of time. If you look at it, that would have made the differences, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's what we are
of
working
course.
on.
And
Perfect.
matlab,
Perfect.
it became a nature. If
Right.
you have to earn everything. Nothing is going to come for free.
Right, right. Okay, so moving on, you also told us that, yeah, for IITB, had to move out of Indore, and then there was a lot of exposure there. So, first of all, like, tell me something more about this. That I understand कि IT, Indore with the exposure नहीं मिला, and Bombay जाके, it was full of exposure. But how did your mindset actually open up there? I mean, looking, because देखो, this is pretty sure कि IIT में जाके people do talk about IIMs or Ivy League colleges, but there's more to life, because Bombay itself is hell more to life,
Correct.
right? So what exactly did you learn there, and how did it start shaping you in those years? Because all those things actually add up to your journey here. So I want to know that.
Correct, correct. So, to be honest, my parents were not happy sending me to Bombay because they
Okay.
thought ladka bigad jayega. They were
Right.
absolutely against Delhi. They wanted me to go to Kharagpur because मालूम था कि यार गांव है, वहाँ कोई आसपास कुछ नहीं होगा, लड़का बिगड़ेगा नहीं.
हाँ.
So, but like,
Honestly, I'm sorry to cut you, but एक बात बताओ, कितने आईडीज क्रैक कर लिए थे आपने?
मतलब रैंक थी तो मतलब like I was getting admission into every IIT. वो आईएम वाला
Hats
होता है
off
यार,
to you,
आईएम से
boss.
अलग अलग आईएम से कॉल आता है. बट आईआईटी में तो
Hats
रैंक
off
के
to you,
सबसे.
boss.
सॉरी, सॉरी.
Hats off to you. Hats off to you.
अरे नहीं भाई,
बहुत बहुत
मतलब
पढ़ लिया आप.
यार हाँ, मतलब उस टाइम पे मेहनत करी थी, बट टू बी ऑनेस्ट लाइक इट वाज बिकॉज ऑफ माय सिस्टर. So she was the first one
Okay.
in our family who went to Bombay. I think when I was in eighth or ninth, I think. Uh, and
Okay.
there she got exposed to a lot of things, lot of new things in life. She came back and then
Right.
forced my parents to make sure that I study for IITs. मुझे मालूम ही नहीं था यार IIT, मतलब मैं ninth तक I think I failed in math in ninth, if I'm not wrong. मैं ग्रेस मार्क से पास हुआ था. तो
Wow.
तब तक हाँ, मतलब तब तक ठीक था. एट तक ठीक था, बट एट तक कुछ पढ़ाई भी नहीं होती थी. नाइन्थ में आई थिंक आई
Right.
फेल्ड इन मैथ, एंड देन माई सिस्टर केम बैक होम एंड लाइक बहुत डांटा वाटा एक्सेट्रा, एंड माई पेरेंट्स बहुत बहुत सीन हो गया था घर पे कि ऐसे कैसे हो गया. And then I actually started studying. So 10th, 11th, 12th, I studied well, and
Mm-hmm.
got admitted into IITB. But like back to your question on
Right.
how that changed my perspective. Yeah, of course, like
Right.
Bombay has too much like new things to absorb. And like,
Mm-hmm.
coming from Indore, obviously, while growing up, while seeing movies, etc., Bombay dekha tha. But to
Mm-hmm.
actually physically go and see Bombay was very very different. And my first experience with Bombay was कि यार हमारी train. I think we went there in end of June for something, like
Mm-hmm.
for some counseling or something. Me, my dad, and my brother. And हमारी train बोरीवली स्टेशन पे लगी. And end of June, you
Mm-hmm.
can imagine Bombay में I don't know कितनी बारिश होती है. यार
I know. I
उतनी
know.
बारिश कभी देखी नहीं थी हमने. एंड हम लोग इंदौर
Uh-huh.
से आ रहे थे. जून में इंदौर में बारिश इतनी होती नहीं है. हमारे पास छाते
हाँ
भी नहीं थे.
जी.
And Bombay mein like chhata is like you wear shoes, you have to wear umbrella as well. So bhai, like
Right.
literally we reached some place and kahin to ja rahe the hum rehne ke liye. We were completely
Uh-huh.
drenched, and that was my first experience in Bombay. But like
Okay.
वही सब यार, all these things, this hardship, not just in life but hardship of Bombay, I think builds a lot of
Mm-hmm.
character. तो लोकल ट्रेन
Right.
में when तुम लटक के जब जाते हो, तो यार
Mm-hmm.
आदत पड़ जाती है तुम्हें कि यार भाई धक्का खाने की. And
Right.
at some, I don't know how exactly I can relate it to anything else in life, but that builds
Mm-hmm.
character. You're okay taking, you're okay stumbling in life, and it's
Right.
okay to stumble. So
Right.
that kind of helps in life. But बॉम्बे में जाके यार
Mm-hmm.
एक्सपोजर तो बहुत मिला. प्लस लाइक
Mm-hmm.
मेरा सब माय जो मेरा रूममेट जो था,
Right.
one was from Bhopal, the person living next to me in the hostel was from Bombay.
Right. Right.
एंड भाई क्या इंग्लिश बोलता था. लाइक आई वाज, मैंने कहा यार भाई यार तू मुझे इंग्लिश सिखा, कुछ और मत सिखा बट तू मुझे इंग्लिश सिखा. So that's like he actually taught me a lot of English. Yeah? He like
Wow.
forced me to start reading English novels, etc.
Uh-huh.
But all those things help. Why? Because obviously hostel का environment अलग होता है. But
Right.
like all those things help when you see your peers trying to achieve something. So like when
Mm-hmm.
you reach there, people from Delhi and Bombay are talking about कि यार I am Ahmedabad जाएंगे, I am Bangalore जाएंगे.
Mm-hmm.
एंड यूर
Mm-hmm.
लाइक यार ये आई एम होता क्या है. तो पहले जाके तुम किसी से पूछते हो कि भैया आई एम है क्या. एंड शर्म आती है पूछने में, क्योंकि बाकी सब तो इतने फ्रीली बात कर रहे होते हैं, तुम्हें पता ही नहीं होता.
Right. Right.
तो फिर तुम्हें कोई हेल्प करता है कि हाँ यार ये कार्ड देनी पड़ती है एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा, तुम भी लगते हो हाँ यार मे बी आई कैन ऑल्सो डू इट. एंड बट देन यू
Mm-hmm.
रियलाइज कि उसके लिए इंग्लिश अच्छी होनी चाहिए. तो पूरे सपने जमीन पे आ जाते हैं कि यार fuck, 4 साल में तुम्हें इंग्लिश पहले अच्छी करनी पड़ेगी. So that's
Right.
how. So yeah, all those things help. And then then there are some people who are talking about going and doing a MS in US, and then you realize
Mm-hmm.
कि यार देश के बाहर भी दुनिया है. So you are not just stuck in India. देश के बाहर भी तुम जा सकते हो. So it just changes your benchmarks. And because your benchmarks are so low when you're coming from a small city, that
Mm-hmm.
the delta in these benchmarks is so high that
Mm-hmm.
you get surprised. And like a lot of times you also feel insecure.
Right.
I still feel insecure. मतलब उसमें कोई वो नहीं है. But it's like
Mm-hmm.
I've learned to use my insecurities to my advantage. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Obviously not completely, but to the most part. But you
Right.
feel insecure that you are surrounded with people who are talking about Stanford and Harvard. तुम्हें तो IIM भी नहीं मालूम था. तो वही होता है. So but then you have to realize that to make sure that you are at par with them, you
Right.
work harder than them. You make sure that you have the right mental models. You speak and get guidance from the right people, and then grow in
Mm-hmm.
life. Yeah.
Right. Right.
तो यही
Perfect.
हुआ
That's
यार.
that's quite a lot you picked up from IIT, but I guess you're the first person, and I wouldn't leave this chance at all. Someone I'm having a podcast with who's from IIT and an entrepreneur and running a good business out there. So tell me this thing that हम हमेशा बोलते हैं कि entrepreneurship के लिए it's not necessary कि आपकी डिग्री क्या है या where you coming from, whatever. Just that you need to have that mindset कि धंधा करना, and most of that what matters is the execution of the business.
Correct.
That's it. Right. So now being one from IIT, and I don't know if you went out in those ESL competitions that used to happen or the anything of that sort, entrepreneurial sort जो आजकल हर कॉलेज में होता है. मुझे वो नहीं पता आप करते थे नहीं करते थे. So what is your insight now coming from IITB, the renowned of the renowned college of the nation, and then being an entrepreneur down the line? What would you say about this notion that we go by कि entrepreneurship के लिए degree नहीं matter करती boss. Your education doesn't really matter. What matters is literally what you're doing out there.
ऑफ कोर्स यार, डिग्री तो पास्ट में हो गई, लाइक जो हो गया वो तो हो गया, उससे क्या ही फर्क पड़ना है. फ्यूचर
Hmm.
आई का लाइक माय डिग्री कैन नॉट lay out the future for me.
Hmm.
What it can do is give out a signal.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
to be honest, that is the only thing it does. It gives out a
Okay.
signal that at some point of time in my life, I worked hard to get into this college. That's the only signal or message that the degree can give to someone else, and that's it. और कुछ नहीं है यार. उसके अलावा like I know, like I'm sure you can also figure out, there will be a lot of people with very good degrees who
Mm-hmm.
would have struggled in life. Like ऐसा नहीं कि I have
Right.
not struggled in life. I am
Mm-hmm.
struggling in life right now also.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
like you have to. I know my parents told me कि यार IIT की डिग्री ले ले, फिर लाइफ में तू जिंदगी भर खुश रहेगा, तेरे को कभी टेंशन नहीं होगी. एंड नाउ ऑफ
Hmm.
कोर्स आई टेल देम कि यार आप लोगों ने झूठ बोला था, क्योंकि क्योंकि ऐसा नहीं होता है. सिर्फ डिग्री लेने से
uh,
कुछ चेंज नहीं होता है. यू हैव टू स्टिल वर्क हार्ड इन लाइफ. यू हैव टू स्टिल
hmm.
यू नो ट्राई एंड अचीव व्हाट यू आर ड्रीमिंग अबाउट.
Right.
वहां डिग्री लेने से एक चीज हुई, मेरे ड्रीम्स
Yeah.
चेंज हो गए. वो जो सेम
Okay.
चीज आई वाज टॉकिंग अबाउट कि यार बेंचमार्क शिफ्ट हो गया, ग्लास सीलिंग्स ब्रेक हो गई, दैट वन थिंग डेफिनेटली हैपेंड. मेरे ड्रीम्स चेंज हो गए, माय ड्रीम्स बिकेम बिगर. व्हाई? बिकॉज पीपल
Right.
अराउंड मी वर ड्रीमिंग बिगर. I
Right.
did not have the ability to dream big at that point of time, but because of the
Mm-hmm.
my peers and people around me, I was able to
Mm-hmm.
dream bigger. So मेरे dreams बड़े हो गए. So पहले जो मैं like सोच रहा था कि यार 2-3 लाख की जॉब लग जाएगी and I'll be set for life, suddenly that
Right.
became 5 or 6 times of that. तो वो चीज हो गया. And like I'm
Right.
not saying that पैसे में count करना चाहिए. I'm just giving you an example that IIT की डिग्री
Mm-hmm.
लेने के बाद MBA करने कहाँ जाना चाहिए. Like I did not even know any MBA colleges while going to Bombay. But then suddenly you
Mm-hmm.
start thinking about कि यार what, Ivy League जा सकते हैं, IIM जा सकते हैं. So dreams got bigger
Mm.
for sure. But like maybe there is a correlation that if your dreams become bigger, you automatically start working harder to achieve them.
Mm.
And if
Right.
you make your targets bigger, and वहीं से thought process आता है ना कि यार think bigger. The moment you
Right.
like say कि यार भाई मेरे को 100 मीटर 10 सेकंड में भागना है,
Right.
वाइल इफ यू से कि नहीं यार 20 सेकंड में भागना है, सो हो सकता है 20
Right.
सेकंड में जब भाग रहे हो आप
Mm.
19.5 पे आके यू विल बी हैप्पी. बट व्हेन यू पुट योर
Right.
टारगेट एट 10 seconds, even like you may not achieve 10 seconds, but you will
Right.
try and do 13 or 14. So it will be much
Um,
better than 19 seconds. So the moment your dreams become bigger, automatically your expectations from yourself are bigger, and you work harder and you work towards becoming a much better and grow faster. So I think that comes from there. But does that degree help me? Yeah, as I said, I was a six pointer there. I did not study there. Uh,
mhm,
that degree helped me in the past by pushing
mhm.
me, changing my benchmarks, is helping me
Right.
today by giving out a signal and nothing else. Uh,
Right.
it does not at all mean that someone who does not have that degree cannot be an entrepreneur, cannot run a successful business. Like there are hundreds of
Mhm.
examples of people who are running,
Right.
probably more people are running successful businesses who don't have a degree than
Right.
people who have a degree. This is that maybe media में ज़्यादा नाम आ जाता होगा because this sells. But
Mhm.
I don't think there is
Right.
any correlation from a like ability to run a business.
Right. So if someone, let's say, probably 18-year-old, someone who's just passed out of school, or maybe let's say someone who's just about to graduate from the college, if these two kind of people come and ask you कि बॉस क्या डिग्री से really really फर्क पड़ता है, मुझे सिर्फ इतना पता है कि मुझे धंधा करना है, मैं नौकरी नहीं कर सकता, what would be your advice to him?
Actually नहीं पड़ता. Surround yourself with the right people and नहीं पड़ेगा.
Hmm.
So
Perfect. That's great.
the whole point of college is that it brings
Hmm.
together a community which
Hmm.
probably thinks alike, and that
Right.
community can grow together, think and expand each other's levels, but
Hmm.
and push each other to grow to a next level. But if
Hmm.
you can have that community without going to a college, it's not going to matter.
Perfect. Perfect. Nice. So, listeners, who if you're aspiring for such colleges or if you're just graduating from colleges, then probably I would say you have your answer. When we talk in terms of entrepreneurship, it doesn't really matter. And if you listen to the other podcast, it really comes down to what your mindset and what you're exactly executing out there. Degree doesn't matter. It's just that you matter. That's it. Okay, moving on, Ankur. So, like after IIT, you got in Deutsche Bank, and Deutsche Bank में 12 lakhs a package, and everyone's so happy. And उसके बाद right, उसके बाद you decide कि I wanna quit this thing and get into a restaurant business. So the point that I want to ask is here is, first of all, you broke your first glass ceiling from Indore to Bombay. Then the second glass ceiling was 2-3 lakh के package से 12 lakh का package. Then I would somewhere say that that security factor would have started residing in you. कि यार ठीक है, सब कुछ set है. I am set. I can live a Bombay lifestyle. My family is. I can take care of the family also from where I am right now. And those security factors do set in. So जब आपने पहली बार decide किया कि यार ठीक है, that I will get into the restaurant business because I need more responsibility on my head and all those things that you told us, that you're looking for more, probably you were looking for job satisfaction, but in the hindsight it was more responsibility, doing better work. So what was the exact mindset कि यार अब मैं security छोड़ के I'll be jumping out in the real world, creating a business out of nothing with zero experience in the restaurant business there? And what was that mindset like? And what was the family support during that point like?
So two questions. The first thing, I have a opposite opinion. I think
Okay.
continuing that job was more risky for
Mhm.
me. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, because uh, the risk of not doing that restaurant or not
Mhm.
doing that, not starting a business was much higher, both from a mental perspective as well as from a economics perspective. The returns on this business could have been exponential, whereas
Okay.
returns from continuing in that job were limited, and I could extrapolate them how much I would earn in the next 10 years. But
Right.
therefore, like when you look at the risk return, like starting the business was, for me personally, an obvious choice. It was not like, I don't think I was ever in doubt. The only thing which I probably in hindsight would have changed, that instead of waiting for 3.5 years, I would have started that maybe after a couple of years. Because 2 years I had earned enough to have enough money for my parents to survive for 3-4 years. Like Indore में
Mhm.
यार खर्चा नहीं होता है ना. Obviously they were also doing well in, like, my dad had started doing well in his business as well.
Okay.
So
Okay.
by that time, so उतना
Okay.
tension नहीं था financially. Once I, like, till by 2009-10 इतना tension नहीं था. So
Okay.
that was a okay time. So I could have left after 2 years. I just stuck around to earn more money. थोड़ा सा greedy बन गया था कि और थोड़ा सा पैसा. So that was that. But like starting the
Okay.
business was a less risky thing to do than continuing in the business, continuing in the job. That was one. Second, when it comes to family's support, see, the family has always been in support. They have questioned my. Obviously, they will question my choices. They have the right to question my choices. They've
Mhm.
questioned my choices once in a while. But
Mhm.
overall, they have always been supportive. So once, like, यार माँ को क्या चाहिए होता है, माँ को चाहिए होता है कि यार बेटा खुश रहे, और कुछ नहीं चाहिए होता है
I
ना.
know, right?
तो मेरी माँ का तो बस एक था कि अब तू खुश है क्या. मैंने कहा हाँ खुश. मैंने कहा फिर फर्क नहीं पड़ता. लाइक फिर तू 50,000 महीने के कमा या 5 लाख महीने के कमा, उससे फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. तो मैंने कहा हाँ ठीक है, डन. So as long as like my parents are financially taken care of, which now, like, they are themselves capable of taking care of themselves. मेरी support की
Right.
कोई जरूरत नहीं है उनको. Uh, and
Mhm.
like as long as like I am happy in life, like my parents don't have any concerns. My dad has always been supportive. माँ को बस ये टेंशन
Right.
रहती है कि तू खुश रहे यार और कुछ मत कर, तू खुश रहे लाइफ में. So well, that's it. So otherwise, like they have questioned few decisions while running like various businesses, and
Right.
those have been healthy arguments or disagreements, etc. But ठीक है,
Hmm.
मतलब ऐसा कुछ ज़्यादा like nothing major.
Right. Okay. So, for now, the next question that I want to ask is that if I'm not wrong to say, your restaurant business was in kind of partnership with your friends,
Yeah,
or it
correct.
was so right,
Yeah, so
correct,
we
now.
were, yeah,
So, when we go ahead with this thing, you did this business for 4 years, and restaurant business is a good business, and having 9 stores all around Pune and stuff. So, what all did you learn from this business that you are putting it out here? One thing, and how was this partnership like? And how many partners were you? How did you dwell with this partnership when you were coming from a Deutsche Bank? You know, because यहाँ पे थोड़ी सी responsibility फिर भी होती है, which at whichever position you were, you still have that responsibility on your head that you are this person. Let's say even if you were the manager there, like he's the manager out there. That factor stands out.
correct.
So tell me about this thing.
Yeah, so one thing which I would have changed in hindsight was that all four of us had the same skill
Hmm.
set. Like all four
Okay.
of us were engineers, three of us were from the same department, and more or
Okay.
less our skill sets were the same. And
Okay.
that at that point of time दारू पी के धंधा चालू कर रहे थे यार हम. तो कोई
अच्छा.
बिना सोचा भी नहीं था हमने कि क्या कर रहे हैं कैसे कर रहे हैं. So probably I would have reduced the number of co-founders. Uh,
Hmm.
Four, and in fact at one point of time we were six, which got reduced to four. Four is a big number to run any business or start a business with. I'm not saying that you should not
Right.
have good founding members. You should most definitely have, but at a
Hmm.
co-founder level बहुत problems हो जाते हैं at later point of time because of equity distribution कैसा है, and when you are all friends, uh, you start
Right.
thinking कि यार कौन CEO बनेगा कौन नहीं बनेगा. uh, these are all
Right.
normal course of business. Huh? Like this is not something which like only we have gone through. Almost
Hmm.
all the startups founded by friends have gone through these problems. And
Right.
over a period of time, like disagreements hote hain. Then there are various directions in which you want to take the business. All those things, like we went through all the drama. Huh? Like सब कुछ हुआ.
Hmm.
Eventually we decided that what, धंधा चल रहा है अच्छा चल रहा है, like अब बेचो बाहर निकलते हैं. We like
Hmm.
couple of us did not want to go in the same direction. Like
Okay.
one of them went and did an MBA. बाकी अपने अपने direction में गए. So like all four of us went into different directions. All
Hmm.
four of us are doing well today. Uh, and yeah,
Right.
sure. But like biggest learning, yeah, this was the first thing which I started from scratch. So
Hmm.
like like understanding each and every aspect of the business, not just from the customer's perspective, but also from the finance perspective, taught me a lot. Like finance में तब तक इतना, like I was interested in finance, but I had never done accounting, etc. So that
Hmm.
gave me a very good understanding of how to run a business from a numbers perspective. Second,
Right.
from a sales, I think till then I had never done sales. So that
Okay.
was the time when I started actually doing sales. When I say sales, like going and persuading someone or going and selling someone an idea. That was something which
Right.
I did. So like raising funds for that business, etc., was something which I was doing. So that's when I
Okay.
started in my journey of learning how to do sales or selling something, selling an idea, selling a vision, etc.
Hmm.
So I would suggest, like, yeah, those were the two things which I still carry and probably learned the most during that time.
Okay, okay. That's nice. So, couple of questions on from this part. I want to pick up that. First of all, I totally agree to this thing that when you start business with friends, these are the things that arises. But what we really want to know is how did you and your friends deal with this problem? Number one, and number two, like what was the funding process for the restaurant business was like? Like you bootstrapped it, and then or maybe you got the funding from the investors, or what was it like? So these two things.
So ideal way, like ideal answer would be कि नहीं यार, we were all friends, we did it very nice way, like it was all civil. ऐसा नहीं था. Like obviously
Hmm.
we had our disagreements, we had our argument shouting contests, and
Right.
like as I said, like full drama tha, across
Uh-huh.
multiple years, across multiple topics. We tried to come
Right.
to a good conclusion eventually, but
Mm-hmm.
and we reached a okay conclusion at the end of it. Well, was
Mm-hmm.
everyone happy with it? I would say no. Was
Mm-hmm.
everyone extremely unhappy? That was also not true. So we reached a good equilibrium at some point of time. And I think it was a good
Okay.
decision to move on in life from that business, sell that business,
Mm-hmm.
and get on to do different things. It was a good journey. Like all of us learned a lot about ourselves, more importantly. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and like if I have to be honest, I made a lot of mistakes. Uh, I was a stupid fuck back then. If I'm still
Mm-hmm.
not a stupid fuck, but yeah, I was an idiot back then. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I have I forced myself to change on a lot of aspects. I realize now
Okay.
that the mistakes which I made and the decisions which I was taking were not great decisions, but that's how you learn in life. Obviously, I would have
Right.
loved to learn from someone else's mistakes, but then yeah,
Mm.
I was not that great, and I learned from my mistakes. So
Right.
those learnings, obviously, I still carry. And
Right.
from a funding perspective, so initially it was bootstrapped, but then
Okay.
we raised funds from a few angel investors, and
Okay.
yeah, that's what we did. We did
So with
not raise
that
any
fund,
institutional funds.
okay, okay. So with that fund, probably you guys multiplied your stores and everything.
Correct, correct, correct. That's true.
That's nice. So, Ankur, I want to ask this question, and you know, like, what do you feel like after this experience of yours? Because honestly, like, four co-founders is still a very good number. दो तक तो बहुत common हो चुका है, और तीन थोड़ा सा uncommon है, चार कुछ ज्यादा uncommon हो जाता है. तो four co-founders and everything that happened. So, what do you suggest, कि यार, is it a good idea to do business with friends or is it not? Because when we look back at the history right now, let's pick up any big business out there. Let's pick up Facebook. Let's pick up Apple. Every of the businesses have been started with friends, but
Hmm,
not everyone stays.
hmm,
It's probably one person who takes it ahead or something like that. Of that sort of happens, right?
correct.
So, what is your insight over this? कि यार, अगर आप कर रहे हो, नो मैटर जर्नी थोड़ी टफ होगी, खुद से करो या फिर इज इट समथिंग एल्स? सो व्हाट वुड यू से अबाउट दिस थिंग?
So one thing, don't do it alone because
Hmm.
this is a very very lonely journey. Okay, there are
Right.
things which you cannot discuss with your family. There are things which you cannot discuss with your peers in your company as well. And these are the
Right.
tough decisions or tough choices or situations or stress which you have to go through on your own. Uh,
Hmm.
it always helps to have at least one more person who you can share your uh, ideas with, who you can share your stress with. So
Hmm.
I would suggest not to do it alone. ऐसा नहीं कि there are not companies or examples where people have done it alone, but even if you go and ask those people, they would say that
Hmm.
what, have someone, at least someone else who you can share your stress with, because it is a stressful journey. And a lot of entrepreneurs will have a mask of cheerfulness and not show
Right.
their stress, but it's
Right.
telling in their white hairs. so so trust me, like I have my beard has like started becoming white now. Thankfully, not my
Right.
hair yet, but
Right.
yeah, I'm still 34 and my beard is slightly white. So
Hmm.
वो मैंने कोई पेंट नहीं कलर नहीं करा है. It's actually because of stress. So, but you have to maintain, cheerfulness in front of everyone else. So definitely not
Right.
do it alone. Four becomes a lot. Anything beyond three becomes a lot. The reason being that
Right.
everyone will have their ideas. Everyone would want to
Hmm.
drive the business in a certain direction, and
Right.
you need to be sure about who is leading. It's okay to make mistakes with the decisions, but at the
Hmm.
end of the day, there should be one person whose decision is final, and the company goes in that direction. Like
Right.
definitely that person will not get it right 100% of the times, but
Hmm.
like everyone needs to be aligned in a single direction, because the moment company starts going in two or three different directions, like it's a recipe
Right.
for disaster. Like definitely fail hoga.
Right. I can understand and I agree to that. Perfect. That's a nice answer that I have there. Okay. So moving on, Ankur. After this business, after 4 years of restaurant business, you told us that you joined to Tabzo in Bangalore, right?
Correct, correct.
So you joined Tabzo as a CTO, if I'm not wrong.
No, no, no. I joined as a chief of staff.
You joined as a CEO of staff, right? So, Ankur, again the thing, like job, business, again a job. So, what was this transition like, and how did you feel when you went to that direction, and what was the mindset then? कि यार वापस किसी के under and doing a job and stuff. So, what was happening then?
So again, like I would not compare Tabzo and Deutsche Bank as two jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Deutsche Bank,
Mm-hmm.
yes, was definitely a job. Tabzo was not a
Mm-hmm.
job. Uh, the
Okay.
reason people, like, at least from my perspective, like I would consider a job where I don't have any freedom to take decisions.
Okay.
At
Right.
the end of the day, what I said in hindsight, that you know what, I wanted more freedom to take decisions. I wanted, when I was leaving Deutsche, I wanted to be in a
Mm-hmm.
situation where I could take decisions and control the outcomes, or at least the
Right.
inputs. Uh,
Right.
in Tableau, I had complete freedom. Like I was able to take decisions. I was able to, drive things. So it was not
Mm-hmm.
a job per se for me. It was more or less like just continuing the journey, entrepreneurial journey. So like it was very
Okay.
good. Like I was working with Ankur Singla, and
Mm-hmm.
like we had a very good relationship, and like yeah, he gave me all the freedom I wanted. So that was a very nice space for me to be in.
That's nice. That's nice. Okay, so if I ask you, like, what did you, for your entrepreneurial journey, what did you pick up from Tabzo? What would it be?
Uh, Definitely reading more for sure. I'm sure
Okay.
Singla will laugh at this. Uh, and second, like thinking big, for sure. Again, like I was not
Right.
thinking big while running the restaurant business or while doing Blaze, which was a pharmaceutical startup. Like well, when I came to Tabzo, that definitely changed my benchmarks about thinking big. Plus, the previous two startups were in Pune. Coming to Bangalore again was a change in environment, change in I think the technology landscape, because Pune
Right.
is like historically has been a slightly more sleepy city from a tech
Mm-hmm.
perspective. Bangalore is way
Right.
more vibrant, so
Right.
the amount of exposure on tech side just increased exponentially. So those
Right.
three things came in very handy, and that
Right.
again changed my benchmark while thinking from a like if I have to start a tech business, definitely I would not have been able to do that while sitting in Pune.
Understandable. Understandable. Okay, so after Tabzo, then that was the final thing that you decided that Nuclei is going to happen, and Nuclei happened, and all these things were starting to get in place. So, you told us that Tapso got acquired, right?
Correct.
So now at this point, when you started Nuclei, were you alone, or was it again bootstrapped, or what was this thing like? What was the Nuclei's beginning like?
So it was initially bootstrapped. Then we got
Hmm.
revenue from banks, so that kind of
Hmm.
helped us sustain. And since
Hmm.
then, like we have been sustaining on the basis of the revenue which we are earning from the banks. Of course, I was
Okay.
not alone. I had a couple of co-founders and
Hmm.
like technology and product side, and they are running the
Right.
business as is. So as I said, like it was not a difficult choice. Like
Hmm.
all of us were aligned that we did not want to join and we wanted to start again, and that's
Hmm.
what we did. So figuring out the process of what we will be building and which industry we will be building in, that consumed some time, but that was also deliberate
Hmm.
on our part that this time we did not want to jump into anything. Wanted to make sure that there was
Hmm.
a good product market fit and then go from there.
Hmm. Perfect. Perfect. Right. So, Ankur, talking to you, like I have realized this one thing that from the very starting point, you have actually stepped up your journey. Right. You've been climbing the stairs, coming up and up and up, and that you have right now come up very, very way too far from where you were back at that time. Right. Considering the similar things and what you just told us that from Tabs you picked up thinking big. But the way I am looking at it right now, this thinking big factor started the very point you stepped into Bombay.
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
you also told us in the very beginning that with Nuclei, you wanted to build a sustainable business, and you wanted this business to be global. So that is
Correct.
again thinking very big. So now what I want you to is give me your best possible insight, because you have done businesses from city level, you have done a job which is international, you have again been a chief staff officer at a company which got acquired by e-commerce giant, and then you're doing this thing Nuclei. So your things have been expanding in several directions, but then now you finally think big. So if I talk about your insight, how thinking big actually makes everything different in life for anyone who wants to inculcate, and they are not able to understand कि यार I'm very confused कि मेरे को करना क्या है अभी, and I'm not able to get to a direction. What would you tell them in combination with this thinking with big perspective?
So, thinking big is again a perspective, a
Right.
different perspective, right? When I was in
Hmm.
Indore going to Bombay, people in Bombay or my peers who were from Bombay had a different perspective to
Hmm.
life. I had a
Okay.
different perspective to life, and like fortunately, they had a bigger perspective to life than mine,
Hmm.
and therefore I was able to adopt that and expand my horizons. Similarly, when
Right.
I shifted from Pune to Bangalore, or rather like joined from IIT to Deutsche, it again
Hmm.
expanded the horizon. Why? Because suddenly you are thinking about like none of my family has ever been outside India, and
Right.
like now you are working in a global company, which is where you can work in London or say Singapore or Hong Kong, and suddenly you are going to these places, and it changes your perspective on life, because
Right.
like growing up you're just very India focused, and now suddenly you are like interacting with people who are from many cultural backgrounds, and you
Hmm.
get a very different perspective from them, and you realize that what,
Hmm.
I was living in a small pond and this is the ocean, and there are so many different things which I still don't know, and then you
Hmm.
start learning about them. That's where like I became very interested in history as well, cultural history of
Okay.
various different countries or various different regions, and
Hmm.
it just gives you different perspective. So thinking big is again someone else who has a bigger perspective than you, who is helping you expand your horizon. So one very good example, I think, we had invited Vishal, who was CTO of Tabzo, to give a talk in our
Hmm.
company recently,
Okay.
and he was talking about like he's mentoring someone who was wanting to become a doctor, and Vishal
Hmm.
just like posed 3 4 questions to him, that if you become a doctor, how many lives do you suppose you will save in 10 years? And he said
Right.
maybe X. Now,
Right.
if you, instead of becoming a doctor, if you open up a hospital, how many
Hmm.
lives do you suppose you will save? So maybe 100x. Now, instead of opening up a hospital, if you invest in a R&D, institute, or
Hmm.
become a scientist or start doing research, and come up with
Hmm.
a vaccine for some very uh, cruel disease, what is the number? How
Hmm.
many number of lives will you save? Probably 1000x. So becoming a doctor then suddenly seems very small. And I'm not saying that it is small. I'm just saying that this is
Right.
how different perspective comes into the picture. So
Right.
whenever you're thinking about something, like it's like generally if the idea is yours, you would be in love with that idea, and you would feel that this is the best idea in the world, and therefore it
Right.
helps to go and get multiple people's perspective on those ideas,
Hmm.
ideally people from different backgrounds, who will or different backgrounds or different verticals, who can give you a different perspective and help you
Hmm.
grow that idea and help you think bigger than what you are actually thinking. So that is something which I learned probably after shifting to Bangalore, and I continue to do that. I have a set of 5 mentors I continuously go back to and discuss ideas
Hmm.
with them.
Hmm.
They help me, make those ideas, refine those ideas, and push me to think bigger. So that really helps. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, 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 you did. And on this very thing, I want to tell the listeners that, guys, the example that Ankur gave right now from the Vishal story and the way he has expanded his horizon is something where your life can also become better. Even no matter even if you want to do a job, but then think of a bigger job. Let's say right now you think of, for example, if let's say you think of a BPO, think of a, let's say, being a manager at the BPO, for example, or just increase the verticals. That's how your life will become bigger. And then the second very, uh, I would say, things that which get probably hidden in all those things, but then which is very important is that which Ankur also pointed out, that you need to surround yourself with those kind of people. Your surrounding matters a lot. It's just like, let's say, when you are there with a surrounding who's spending 10x and you're spending x, you would be forced to spend 10x. You can't help it. And when you're being forced to spend 10x, you will be forced to earn 20x. Then only you can spend 10x. So it's the very same ideology that works. So that ways, I would say that is another perspective of thinking big, which helps you grow bigger. Else, we are all living a life, I would say. Is there anything that you want to add to this, or anywhere you feel, Ankur, I went wrong?
No, you captured it right. You captured it right. So, like
Thank you.
they say, right, you're an average of five people around you, and that's absolutely
Right,
true. It's absolutely true.
right, right. So, Ankur, if I ask you something that, out of this journey of yours, if you look at the hiccups or the failures, right,
Hmm.
whichever suits you more, which one was your biggest failure out there, and what did it teach you?
It's difficult to choose one, huh? It's really difficult to choose one.
My
Uh,
common answer, right? But still, pick up the one that comes first to your mind.
um, Probably after the restaurant business, I should not have jumped into the next business faster. I probably like rebound. That was a rebound business for me. I just wanted to
Mm-hmm.
do something else, remain relevant.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like in hindsight was a big mistake.
Okay.
Similarly, I think actually biggest. Okay, so let me rephrase. Maybe that was not the biggest mistake. So the biggest
Okay.
mistake, if I have to think of, is the amount of emotional stress which I have taken for surprisingly small issues in the past. So like if I look back and read a few emails from say 2014 or 2012, the amount of
Mm-hmm.
emotional stress which I took for those issues or those problems was
Mm-hmm.
disproportionate to the actual problem at hand. So in hindsight, I should have,
Mm-hmm.
like I would, like if I have to live those times again, I would not
Mm-hmm.
I would not take so much emotional stress. So that's something
Right.
which I'm still trying to learn. I've not
Mm-hmm.
learned it completely. Today also there are things where I get a lot more emotional or get stressed, but I'm much
Mm-hmm.
better than before. So even if
Right.
there are problems, like I don't take that much stress because most of those problems are outside of our control and can't do much
Right.
about it. So there is no point in
Right.
being stressed because of that. So doing
Mm-hmm.
better. But yes, that was a very big. Uh, it was not a single failure, but it was a
Mm-hmm.
multiple failures where because of some small things I was taking too much emotional stress. Yeah, that's something which
Right.
would really change.
So that's a very different answer that probably I would say I've got in after talking to so many guests out there. And the one thing that I would say that, guys, when being an entrepreneur, your EQ and IQ are very, very important. Sometimes EQ is more important than IQ, because you need to manage these emotions. Emotions can drive you crazy as fuck sometimes. So you need to keep your calm out there and think in the right direction. Anger, happiness, all those things. Those are very right thing. That do not take a decision when you're super happy, or do not take a decision when you're super angry. That doesn't really help. Maintaining your EQ is very, very important for better decisions and for a better growth of your business out there. Right. Okay. So moving on, Ankur, if I
I will
ask you that,
just want to add there. So one thing
right.
which I was listening, this is probably 3 or 4 years back. I was listening to a
Right.
talk from Jack Ma of Alibaba, and he was teaching us that in every situation you need to remain very very calm. As a leader, you
Yeah.
cannot lose your anger, etc. And I think
Mhm.
was it one of those talks or something related to that? It said that if any particular thing makes you angry,
Mhm.
just sleep over it. Don't react immediately. So if a particular situation is making you angry or if a particular email is making you angry,
Hmm.
don't react to that situation or don't respond to that email then and there. Sleep over it. Automatically you will become calmer, and you won't start a waterfall where you have responded to that email with your anger, and then just goes on back and forth. Just sleep over it,
Right.
respond with a calm mind the next day. Things will automatically become better. And that I started practicing since 4 years, 4 years back or so.
Hmm.
I'm telling you, like, there are so many emails which make you angry, and I just
Hmm.
don't respond to them the same day. I respond to them the
Hmm.
next morning when I'm way more calmer, not
Hmm.
busy with urgent stuff, and I'm able
Hmm.
to take a much more saner decision.
I would agree to that 110%. And something that I would say from a personal experience that, guys, what happens with me a lot of times, and even now also, that whenever something happens or probably some urgency kicks in from the client side, I'm sometimes kicked in by a lot of anxiety, and I don't know what to say. So what happens generally is my replies gets delayed. They are probably a day or two delayed, but I make sure that whenever I'm giving them a reply, I'm giving them a proper solution, or maybe I'm telling them that doesn't escalate the situation in either of the directions, so that everything
Correct,
goes perfectly out there.
correct,
So
correct.
what Ankur has told us right now is something we all need to practice. And yes, even I sleep over my anger a lot and lot of time, and it helps like insane. Right. So, coming back to my question that I was asking, Ankur, if I ask you, are you a money-minded person? So,
uh,
what would your answer be?
Not anymore.
Wow.
Not
Okay.
anymore. I
Elaborate a
was.
bit more on that.
Yeah, I was.
Okay.
Of course, I was. Like, the decision to join Deutsche and not go and do an MBA was
Uh-huh.
a money-minded decision, and for obvious reasons that our family required that money at that point of time. So
Right.
for me, it's like, I think for everyone in the family and for me, it was an obvious decision.
Mm-hmm.
But over a period of time, no, I've learned to not be that money minded for two reasons. One, while building the restaurant business, there were a lot of, I think, for 2 or 3 years were quite tough from a financial
Right.
perspective. So,
Right.
and I think, like, we just got married as well, and like,
Mm-hmm.
those couple of years were very tough from a financial perspective. So we learned to live in those particular, like, whatever cash flow we were getting, and
Mm-hmm.
like, it was tough to an extent that I was driving a '98 model Zen back then. So
Okay.
yeah, so it was like 16 or 15 years old car. So even
Right.
like if the tire got punctured,
Uh-huh.
like, I thought about spending $200 on getting the tire okay, or calling someone. So I used to change the spare myself and then go and get it
Uh-huh.
done in $50. So the puncture
Right.
would get done in $50, but I would save on that $150. So we were like
Mm.
literally hand to mouth. But what that really inculcated in us as a family, like our
Mm.
like demands, our uh, lifestyle is
Right.
very very minimalistic. So like, we don't need a lot of money to be happy in life, and that
Mm-hmm.
continued. So even when started earning decent, like, that
Mm-hmm.
continued. Like, our costs are not very high, and I think that
Right.
helps a lot because it reduces a lot of stress in life. So I'm not
Mm-hmm.
worried about money anymore because I know that like, our demands or our requirements per month from a financial perspective are very limited, and
Mm-hmm.
like, it's okay even if I don't like make a lot of money. Like, I'll make
Mm-hmm.
some much, like, enough to survive for
Mm-hmm.
12 months or so. So
Right.
like, that way it just takes away a lot of stress. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like, I'm not money minded, definitely not money minded anymore. And like, from a
Okay.
like day to day cost perspective also, we are very minimalistic in nature.
Okay. So, if I say that, are you financially independent right now? So, what would your answer be?
Yes, like, I'm not dependent on anyone. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's one way to answer it. If
Mm-hmm.
obviously the definition differs. Like, people define it that if you stop earning from tomorrow, can you lead
Mm-hmm.
your life without earning any single penny? Of course not. But
Okay.
my like response to that will be that, do you want to stop working from tomorrow? Like, no, of course
Mm-hmm.
not. Like, I would not
Mm-hmm.
probably retire at any point of time, because
Right.
like, what would I do? What do you mean retirement? What would I do? Like I would love to just sit and read all day long, but I'm sure like
Uh-huh.
that will also pay me some money. So I'll be okay then as well. So yeah,
Okay.
like I am financially
So
stable.
you look forward to having those passive sources of income where even it doesn't really matter if you're working or not. If I go by the general term which exists in the market of in terms of financial independence, so I completely understand that that you have that urge that I cannot live without working. I'm the same kind of person, so I can relate with you. But when we talk about the other thing also that I don't want to care about if I'm taking a vacation or if I want to do this, if my children want to do this, I don't really think I have to think about it twice. I can do it. So is that a goal or like you're over that?
So like when I say that I'm financially stable, it does not mean that I have a lot of savings. No, it is not that.
Mm-hmm.
That is not the case. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
like, would I want a passive income? Of course. Like, I think anyone would want additional income. And do I have
Mm-hmm.
a passive income? No, not right now. This is the only business which I'm running. Uh,
Okay.
but like, am I motivated by like having a bigger house or having a bigger car? No. Like, those things don't motivate me as much. Uh, Travel is something which I would love to do a lot more, uh, because I
Mm-hmm.
think that adds a lot of value. And like I think of it not as an expense but as an investment. So that I would
Right.
love to do more. But yeah,
Right.
like I would want to earn more money. One, to travel, two, to probably like do more for dogs, street dogs.
Wow. That's nice. So you're a lot into dogs.
Sorry.
So you're a lot into dogs.
Yeah, so I have a couple of rescue dogs. My wife
Okay.
works with a few dog shelters, helps with
Okay.
adoptions and rescues, and like here and
Wow.
then we go and feed street dogs. Yeah.
That's nice. So if I ask you, Ankur, that do you have any of your money management plans in place? Like, I've invested this much and I invest this part of my salary into this and something of those sort. Or maybe in terms of business growth that, this is how my money, cash flow for business goes around. Do you have any plans in place? And if you could share that with us,
Yeah, yeah.
like,
So like I think since since my first salary in Deutsche Bank,
mm-hmm.
my dad made sure that I saved 50% of it, whatever the salary it is. So that's
Okay,
a rule which I still go by. So I'll say 50% of my income, and the rest
right.
50% like probably save it for certain goals or for normal expenditures.
Wow, that's
But yeah,
that's good. Yeah, that's really good. That's nice. I mean,
yeah.
50%
So
is huge amount, I would say.
uh,
That's literally a huge amount.
again, like it depends. It depends on
Mhm,
what your monthly expenses are. For example, if you are in a habit of spending a lakh rupees a month, which I just don't
mhm,
know why anyone would. But
mhm.
of course, but like
Me,
if you have to
I
spend
understand that.
1 lakh rupees, then like if you have to save 50%, you have to earn 2 lakh rupees a month. But if you are just
Right,
spending 40,000, you have to earn 80,000. Like it's again a perspective, right? So,
right. It's
and
definitely a
you
perspective.
can if your monthly expenses are say 50, 60,000, then you can save
Mhm,
more if you're earning more. So, or you can
definitely.
do more with what your goals are or what your invest in some more passionate projects, etc.
Mhm. Right,
But yeah,
right. I get it.
but that's
Perfect.
something which
So
my dad was very strict about. He
that's
kept
a great habit he has inculcated in you.
yeah,
It's a
yeah,
great
yeah.
habit, I
It
would say.
didn't feel very good, because I thought I had
And
become an adult and सैलरी कमाने लग गया हूँ पापा मैं खुद अपने डिसीजन लूंगा लाइफ के पापा ने चुप बैठ 50% सेव करेगा घर पे भेज मैं तेरे लिए इन्वेस्ट करूंगा मैंने कहा ओके पापा
nice, nice, nice,
Yeah,
nice.
like of course
Okay.
now I invest on my own. Like I don't like my dad also invests, but he
Right,
invests more in like land, etc. And
right.
I invest more on mutual funds or stocks.
That's nice. That's nice.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
since you are a lot into reading, and I would say it's been quite a time now, you've been reading, compounding all that knowledge. If you have to give away some, recommendation of the books, which one would those be?
Oh, okay. Which genre?
Same business and entrepreneurship, or maybe someone else or some other genre. If you want to recommend, I would love to know that because I'm also
So
there.
Probably from a business perspective, like Poor Charlie's Almanac, like stands out. I don't think any other business book even comes close. Uh,
Wow.
then,
Okay.
from a philosophical perspective or from a dreaming perspective, I think Jonathan Livingston Seagull, like
Mm-hmm.
probably one of the most the book which I have gifted the most. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, and mm, again maybe Guide to a Good Life.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on which phase of life I have been through. So, like at some point of time, I think 4 or 5 years back, Guide to a Good Life helped me a lot to think clearly about how I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
lead my life. So that book
Mm-hmm.
helped me a lot. But yeah, these three books have
Mm-hmm.
been very good. From a sales perspective, I think, or leadership perspective, I think Extreme Ownership uh, is a very, very good book. Obviously, it has a narrative around a war, which again I'm very interested in. So I liked it. Some don't.
Mm-hmm.
Then
Right.
Daring Greatly, that's a very
Right.
good as well. So it just talks about micro courage rather than macro courage or being a very macho person. Just the courage,
Mm-hmm.
small things regularly. So yeah, those two books also are very, very good.
That's nice. These are quite
Yeah.
a good recommendation. Some recommendation that I'm listening out of the box. Actually, haven't heard of this book a lot, but I would definitely look forward to reading or listening to some of them. Nice. So as we move towards the end of the podcast, Ankur, if I ask you your business mantra that you would like to give to the listeners, what would that be?
I think like we would be doing everyone wrong by not saying thinking big. So yeah, thinking big.
That
Yeah.
definitely anything else apart from that, that probably you have picked up from your struggle or experiences or that hand to mouth situation or anything of that sort, maybe.
Thinking long term, and then that goes for everything, right from while setting up the business, thinking about how to position the product, or even
Mm-hmm.
when you're hiring people. So you have
Mm-hmm.
to hire for the long term. I've made these mistakes in the past where I've thought about hiring someone because they are appropriate immediately, but wouldn't be
Mm-hmm.
appropriate in the long run because they just did not fit in culturally, etc. So it's
Right.
okay to choose attitude, and now we only do that. Choose attitude over skill sets. So skill
Hmm.
sets can be learned, but
Right.
changing the attitude of a person is very, very difficult. So thinking long term is also something which is important.
Nice. That's a good insight. Okay, so before we end this thing, so there's this one thing that we do, Ankur, is that we ask our guest to recommend us another entrepreneur who you think have a very insightful or and learning journey from whom we can pick up something. So whom would you recommend?
You should definitely speak to Ankur Singla of Tabzo.
Okay.
Yeah, like he has had a very, very different journey. He's not an engineer, by the way. He's a lawyer and has led it.
Okay.
Yeah, has led a tech business. I learn a lot from him. I've learned a lot from him. I continue to learn a lot from him. So you should definitely
Hmm.
call him. I can connect you. You should definitely call him to your podcast.
Definitely. Then I'll make sure that his podcast comes up and you both have each other's link and that you like, get to know and we are able to tell everyone what stands out there. With that said, guys, this was Ankur Joshi with us, and there's a lot that we can definitely pick up from his journey. How his mindset has evolved around thinking big, and that's probably one of the major thing that I would pick up from his journey. Looking at the factors from where he is coming from and the way he has grown in life, and the way he's expanding his business right now, taking it international, thinking global, and everything. So yes, thinking big matters a lot, and the rest of the things that money management, all those things, yes, they definitely stand out there, and sometimes you just need to go ahead and do something. And one more thing, exposure matters. So you need to get out of your sometimes we say comfort zone, but then right now I would say probably your city if you're in a small town, or maybe your metropolitan city, or maybe just get out there, have a bigger exposure, see what people are doing. That's when you start thinking different and you start thinking bigger. That is something that I would want you guys to specifically pick up from his journey. Rest, the complete journey is very insightful. Do listen to this. And with that, Ankur, I want to thank you so much for taking out time and coming on the show and giving listeners an insight into your Dhandho Soch, I would say.
Thank you, Sarthak. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Same here, same here. Thank you so much, Ankur. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
I hope that you're able to take back something insightful from this podcast and apply it in your life to be a better version of yourself and add to your Dhandho Soch. If you know someone whom you think should feature on my podcast and has a very inspiring entrepreneurial journey, then do drop me a DM on my Instagram, SarthakVarshney. Sarthak Varshney. Yeah, that's me. I'm the founder of SV Clicks, and SV Clicks is the producer of this show. You can find me on Facebook or LinkedIn as well with the same name. If you're willing to listen to more of such unheard, inspiring stories of the entrepreneurs, then don't forget to follow us by pressing that follow button on your podcast screen. Thank you for being such an amazing audience. Keep learning, keep growing. We'll be back soon. See ya.